to the Fantasy Grimoire podcast. And today we have the incredible Bodysamantix. Did I say that right? Is that the
Yes.
Sam, it is so great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I knew I wanted you on the podcast because you took your love for books and your love for workouts and for exercise, for movements, and you put this together in a business concept. I think my mind is a little bit blown. Where do we even start with this? Please, what was your inspiration behind creating this?
It started off as like a little seed and I was always doing it. And then 2020 happened and then I was like, okay, well now we're going to like change everything. When I was teaching in studios, when I was having personal training clients, I always did something fun. I did like a theme or whatever. They were bored or I was bored. To make it fun. When I was teaching in a studio, because you have a wider group of people that are not just there to see you versus like a personal training client, they're there to see you. The classes I would always do on May the 4th, I would always do Star Wars theme because it was so widely known, it was so widely accepted, and because it was on a Legree machine, so it's a souped up Pilates machine, is the basic way to put that. So you're using resistance. So of course I was like, oh well, the rebels, fight the resistance and all of that. I was like, oh, like that works. Yeah. That's funny. And so I would find, like EDM mixes of the Empire March and like and I would make a whole playlist. I would do funny puns. And so every class would always have like a little pun thrown in, even just on the regular. And then as I started, like Halloween always was a big theme for me. It always has been. So like I always just went all out for very acceptable, like holiday things. I wouldn't get very niche down except for Star Wars. Every so often I'd throw like a random pun in from some random fandom that people like would know, especially if I had like adults that had like young kids and I could pull like some random Disney references. And 2020 happened and we all had to go online. I lost my studio job. And so I was teaching online. And I was like, well, let's make this like really fun. So I like went full out. I was like, we're going to do all themes. So like Memorial Day, I did Marvel Avengers. I'm so sad I don't have this recording, but for the 4th of July, I did do a Hamilton themed workout. And so that recording got lost in the like ether. That was, beginning of 2020. So like everything just kind of didn't work perfectly. So that one's just lost in the ether. Maybe one day I'll eventually like redo it, but so I just started adding in more and more themes. Had one friend that was like, oh, we should do Harry Potter for Back to Hogwarts Day. So I did do that. I had actually a decent group that showed up for that because they were still live classes at that point. I started going through all the Marvel Avengers and popping them in. And then I had a client in 2022 because Micro Squad officially became a business in 2021 because 2020 we were just trying to figure out what the fuck we were doing. My studio never took me back on for their home studio, so it was like, okay, I'm back. And I'd been my own business since 2012. I know how this works. So started the studio, grabbed some of the girls who didn't go back to the studio as well, and we started doing all of those themed workouts. So one girl started doing like Zodiac ones, a girl did so she went through all the Zodiacs, like moves that like would inspire them and things like that. One girl, she was a music teacher and she called them pop balla. So we use the balla weights, but she would go on the pre-chorus, the chorus, like, and she would cue things with the music. And it was like, I know Peloton does something like that too. And so does SoulCycle, but she was very, very like, because she was a music teacher, she knew the rhythms very, very well. So it was a lot of fun. We had all these different styles, modalities, and people showing up and doing different things. But in 2022, right at the beginning, I had a client of mine who's actually local here. She's been with me in the studio. She was like, you need to read this series, ACOTAR, because they do a lot of curtsy lunges and we know how much you love curtsy lunges. So like you need to do that. Was like the whole pitch. It was really fun. And she's like, it's the last book has a lot of the fitness stuff, but like you can make a workout out of it, but you need to read the series. I'm like, well, duh. So I read the whole series, and as I was reading the series, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just do kind of my normal thing of I'll just do a workout based off of the one book or one series, one character. Yeah. I'll do that. As I started going through the books, I was like, well, I could do one for Feyre, And then I could do one for like the entire series. And then I could do like a Valkyrie themed one, but I could do better. This is like my famous last words. I could do better.
Yeah.
I could make this an entire program because it's detailed out fairly well
Yeah.
in Silver Flames of how the true fitness journey. When I was in personal training school, when I was in athletic training school, they talked about progressional training. That's
Yeah.
what we learn. Most studios, most trainers don't teach that way.
Okay.
It's just people just want to come in, work out, and then leave. So I was like, oh, like I have not flexed this since like college of let me write a true progressional program that matches the book of here's the building blocks, here's how we move through, and adding on all of those pieces because that's what you were supposed to do. That is actually, if you read the personal training textbook, that is actually how you're supposed to train people. But
Yeah.
that is a very, very niche area. So I was like, okay, well, I do all of these things. I have my yoga certification. I am a black belt. So I know how to do all the fighting techniques. I know
Yeah.
how to do basic sword work from Eskrima or Kali, which I learned in my karate studio as well. I have all these elements. I know how to bring all of this in. So I was like, I'm certified to do this. The Lulu kicked in and I was like, we're going to go for it. Full send. So I then wrote the whole program with that in mind of let me add in the fun pieces of like puns. Let me talk a little bit of spicy talk. Like we're going to do our stretches now. We're going to put our hands on the headboard. A lot of those pieces I started to layer in and made that entire program. It was a hit. I thought maybe like, I put up signups of like pre-sign up. I was like, I'm going to get like 30 signups, and out of those 30, I'll probably get like 10. Because that's how like numbers always went from like social media. The numbers don't match to reality.
Sure.
And it's just the way it is. I think I ended up having like 3,000 people sign up for the email list. And yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, I just watched the numbers like tick in like every week. I was like, oh, wow, what have I done? Am I prepared?
Yeah.
I was not prepared. Within that first day of launching, I think I got like 100 people. By the first 3 months, I think I had 300 members, and then it just kept climbing from there. So yeah, by the end of the year, because I launched September 2022, by the end of the year, we had like 300 members, and then it just kept growing from there.
I think that's personally why I'm so fascinated by this concept, because you and I, we've spoken about my love for bar. I think in May this year, I have been going to bar solidly for 4 years, which for me is like a record, because I have been active throughout my whole life, but the way I am with any form of movement is I need to be mentally challenged. If that part is not working, like people that say they can run on the treadmill for an hour, I'm like, that's nice. I would rather not. Okay.
Yeah.
And for me, like when people go, oh, I'm just like lifting weights at the gym, and I'm like, but aren't you bored? Like, because that would be my reaction. And that's where like I have felt so connected to bars, because it's not just about those things, because you do it in bar, as you know, but it's about how do you do the coordination? How do you keep up with the teacher? How do you transition to the next move? And that kind of mental challenge is what I've needed. And that's why I'm so fascinated, because you've made movement fun. And I think a lot of people look at movement as like, sure, because we've all heard it, you know, as you get older, you need to move more because you're basically training for old age. Okay.
Yes.
But you've taken that kind of reprimand, for lack of a better word, out of it, and you're like, hey, come move because you want to, move because it's fun. And I think that message is so important. I do want to circle back to something that you said though, because I'm so fascinated by it. Tell me about this karate background, because you don't easily meet a woman who's like, hey, I'm certified in karate. Like, what is that story there?
So it's a funny one. I don't know, like I really don't know what like really made this like idea pop into my head. When I was 7, I had an across the street neighbor. Him and his wife were black belts in Kempo. And he would always either have the garage door open and he would be practicing. He would be out on the lawn practicing. And I just remember going up to my parents one day and asking them, can I take karate like Mr. B? And it was just like, what 7-year-old's like, that looks fun, let me do that. It was just, and it's just him like practicing form. So he's not fighting anyone. He was just doing movement in his yard. And I was like, I want to do that. I mean, I had tried swimming, I had tried dance, I'd done a lot of things. Nothing really stuck. And that was the one where I actually approached my parents, asked, and like,
So
was like, I want to do that.
I realize I've got Mr. Miyagi vibes going through my head right now.
Basically, so like I hadn't, and that's kind of a funny story too, and this is kind of where I get a lot of my like geeky associations with is, so I asked to do this, and Mr. B agreed to teach me. So my dad sat me down and was like, okay, if you're going to do this, you need to watch the movie The Karate Kid. So I at this point had never seen Karate Kid, and so yeah, like it became that association of like, okay, well, here's a movie that goes along with the thing that you like really love. And then a year later, Mulan came out, like, and I was the only girl in school who was taking martial arts. And there's, now there's a movie that is a girl fighting. And I was like, oh my God, I'm cool.
Love that so much.
That's where that's where it really started. And then as I got older, I actually, in high school, I was teaching martial arts. So you were able to like go to your studio. My sisters were taking it as well.
You're giving eldest daughter vibes to me right now.
I am.
Yeah, okay, because I was just like, just the way you were talking about you giving lessons, I'm like, okay, I can see that.
Yes.
But correct me if I'm wrong, though. Karate or the discipline of karate is not just about, oh, I'm throwing some moves and some punches. A lot of it is very much about that exact word, discipline. It's about how you can push through whole art form. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about karate?
Like, it's going to be ironic coming from me and how I say it. It's not as violent as people think it is. And I think it's weird to say that, but it's knowing that you have that ability to protect yourself. It's not something you are, oh my God, I'm gonna do it. Like Karate Kid. You've got Billy Zabka's character, I now forgot his name, who is just so aggressive and wants to fight everyone. Like, a lot of people think that's what karate is. It's like, oh, you just want to fight everyone. It's like, no, you're kind of a little bit more like Daniel-san. You're subdued, you're waiting, you're like Mr. Miyagi. And that's part of that discipline, is it's teaching you to sit back and observe and be aware and manage your temper, in a sense of like, we're not the first to like start that fight. We're observing everything. And I think there's a book series, the Mindfuck series, that also talks about that.
Love it. Love it series.
And so she and Lana Myers took martial arts to temper that, not just to protect herself. She was managing her anger and her violence. She was able to tame it, in a sense, and discipline it and not do snap decisions. And I think that's something that people don't realize that you get when you're in a discipline like karate, martial arts of any sorts. Yeah. I've had, and because I live next to the town that I grew up in, I still see some of the parents of the kids I used to teach, and they'll tell me that like their kids wouldn't be where they were today without like karate. Granted, I was just a teenager teaching kids, but they're like, that's how they know me. And it's like, they're like, my kids like have learned so much from karate that it's carried them. Like, now all these kids are, oh good God, they're in their like early 20s. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you were this big. Now they're adults. They're starting their lives. So like their parents will be like, no, like they learn so much from karate and how much like watching them grow. It's so amazing. And I think it's such an important sport. I think that just gets kind of overlooked.
This is a little bit random, but I am not sold on the Mindfuck series becoming a TV series.
Oh my God, I forgot that was happening.
I inhaled that entire series. I like one book after the other, and I was like, I need to know what happened. But because of the violent nature of that story, I'm just like, I'm not, it's a kind of a tricky one, because if you take some of the violence away, that emotional impact from the story is not really there anymore. But I'm like, it's also TV. Have you watched The Boys, the TV series?
I was just about to say, like, I mean, I watched The Boys.
Spoilers if you haven't watched The Boys. The most like weirdest fucking part of The Boys for me was the last season, season 4, with the guy that was played Chuck from Supernatural, when the red
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
each other's ass out. I was like, okay, this
Yeah.
is weird. But I was like, that's fine. We all have our kinks. And then they were fighting while he's naked, and then I was watching his dick swing around, and I was like, this is very weird. And the fact that this made it onto primetime television is a choice. Okay. So I was like, if The Boys can pull that and like Herogasm and all of those things off, like that was some weird shit. I'm like,
Yes.
they could probably get away with it in the Mindfuck series. But I'm like, that's why I'm not sold, but I'm open to like seeing what they do with it. As long as it doesn't destroy the original story.
I have the same thing, like when some of these books are greenlit for a movie or show. I'm like, well, if they can get the approval that The Boys got, then I think we're going to be set. As long as you got that green light, I think we can make it happen. But if you cannot reach that level, then I'm sorry, we're losing the essence of the story.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is the discipline about the let's call it the extramural activities we do as children. I was in theatre school, which I'm sure you're not surprised. And a lot of the principles that I learned in theatre school. So my thing was tap dancing. Okay, I was in the other forms, and I was like, it bores me. It can go away now. And even when I stopped, so the main reason why I stopped, so I did go full time when I turned 18, but and I was like a lot thinner than I am now, but they were like, oh, you're not thin enough. You need to lose 10 kgs, which I think in America is 20 pounds. I know it's double. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's about double. It's like 20, 25 pounds. Yeah.
And keep in mind, I'm tall as well. And I'm like, so basically you want me to stick my finger down my throat. And I was like, I'm good. I'm going to go do something else because I am not sacrificing who I am for this. But the principles I learned in theatre school are things that still carry me through to this day, and that discipline and that putting the work in and that not giving up when something gets hard kind of mentality. Mom admitted to me years later. I was in boarding school. Boarding school was like about a 45-minute drive from where we lived. So I was a weekly boarder. I had to go to theatre school on a Wednesday after school. So like just think of like the distance kind of driving around thing. And then on a Saturday. So while everyone was like going to parties and hang out with their friends, I was at theatre school for a full day. And by the way, it was by choice. It was not my parents were forcing me to go there. I want to talk a little bit about ACOTAR. So you read ACOTAR, you loved ACOTAR, and for so many of us, that is the series that got us back into reading. But I want to talk about SJM's interview on Caught Her Daddy. It's my biggest mindfuck, no pun intended, with the series. Because she's arguably one of the biggest authors in the world right now, okay? Because it's not just ACOTAR, it's Throne of Glass, it's Crescent City. She's basically been MIA on the marketing front. She doesn't engage with her readers. She doesn't do appearances. And then, bam, she comes back with Call Her Daddy with this overwhelm of information of just all these questions that we've wanted answers to. So now we're getting 3 new ACOTAR books in the space of, I would say, just over a year. And she's talking about different POVs. So I want to know from you, which POVs do you think we're going to get? And do you think we're finally going to get answers about the Dusk Court?
I do think we're going to get answers about that, especially because of how CC3 teased us into that.
Yeah,
so I feel like that is pivotal. With that in mind, I have not speculated myself on what the POVs are going to be, because I feel like there's one too many that there's a possibility of being, because of how Crescent City 3 kind of left off. There's still some stuff that needs to be kind of answered with Nesta. Moore's been off, and I can't remember where. Like, we need hers. Everyone wants answers with Elaine and Asriel. There's actually just too many loose ends to at least for me to like really speculate like how this is mapping itself out. And I know these 3 books are part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Are they all of the same story? Like, I still have like multiple questions that I am not like theorizing yet until I'm like, you need to tell us before I can like start being like, okay, we're gonna go through here, because there's too much story that has been left open.
One of the biggest complaints I have seen about ACOTAR as overall is that there's no consequences in terms of the people that die never stated, which I kind of understand. At the same time, that's why I'm like, I feel like Azrael and Elaine together, it's just too convenient. I don't know. I feel like SJM's got something else for us. Like you, I don't really do the theorizing thing either.
Yeah.
But that just felt way too convenient. All three brothers with sisters.
Well, and that's why like she's like supposed to be with Lucian, and it's like, okay, well, it would be nice if like Azrael went and found somebody else, and it's Gwyn, and Elaine has a whole book of trying to accept this forced proximity with Lucian. And then everyone's like, well, Lucian's been off with Vasa and the other person that I cannot remember their name, somebody. And then they have their own little outcast trio. And I was like, okay, but I feel like at some point, like they're going to like force them because there is that bond. Because yes, you're right. It is too convenient to, like Azrael threw his little temper tantrum over of like, oh, but all the brothers had them. I get one too. It's, it doesn't work that way. We know you've had it rough, buddy, but like you got to still do some work.
Elaine, Nesta, or Feyre?
Well, as you've pointed out, I am the eldest daughter, so Nesta's like kind of like the like immediate, which is true. I feel like I have a lot of similarities to Nesta. My sisters have also pointed out when I get a little too bitchy, they're like, your Nesta is showing. And I'm like, thanks, guys. I mean, what are little sisters for?
I wasn't the hugest ACOTAR fan. Did I love the Night Court? Yes. I think that saved the series for me. But just the whole entry into the Spring Court, and Feyre irritates the shit out of me. I'm like, you are a whiny little bitch. We've all got our issues. Like, but you don't see us sitting here whining about it. It's like, and Elaine, I'm just like, no one's that daft. Like, no one.
No. When I read ACOTAR and I was introduced to Nesta, I was like, God, this one's a bitch. And then like as I kept going through just the first book and like you saw just a little bit more of her, I was like, oh, that's because I'm that bitch. Oh, okay, fuck. I was like, oh. Yeah. I was like, yeah. I don't know if I like that, but here we are. Yeah, I think that's like, I think that's the fascinating thing about reading a lot of these like fantasy books. We start the characters sometimes we connect with. So it's not true for every character, but it's like a character you connect with and you end up seeing a lot of yourself in, and sometimes not the prettiest sides. You're just like, is that really, really how I come across? Oh my God. I was like, and it's a fun like reflection too. If you take that time to reflect on yourself and be like, okay, wow, like it's not necessarily a bad thing to be direct, to be short, but maybe I could pick my moment when I'm that way. Yes. Let me adjust some of these things a little bit. And it is fun. It is interesting, like seeing that. I had slight tangent is for these 2 new workouts that I had filmed this week. They're Fourth Wing inspired. And so I put a poll up on my close friends and was like, okay, what outfit should I wear? I have this themed outfit. I have this themed outfit. And I did not read Onyx Storm. So it's not my series, but I had more of this like military-esque look. And someone was like, yeah, you should wear that. It's giving Imogen vibes. And I was like, okay, so I know who Imogen is, but who, like, why? So I texted a friend and I was like, hey, like, why is she saying like I have Imogen vibes? She's like, hold on. And so she went and asked her friends, and her friends were like, oh, she like doesn't pull her punches. She's got resting bitch face. She's got this. And they just listed out every single one of my traits. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's time to be in the hot seat for a little bit.
Oh, no.
I want to know, what is your bookish hot take?
Oh, this is a hard one. It was like, oh no, my hot take, and I've said this privately to a couple of people, is, and it's more audiobooks. I do a lot of audiobooks too. I think Teddy Hamilton is overused, the narrator. I think he's a very talented narrator. Let me just put that up front. He is very, very talented. I think he is now just overused. And there are so many other talented narrators out there that can be used, that should be used. And to constantly keep putting him in the books. Like I'm perfectly capable of, oh, this person narrated this book. I can separate him and go to another series. I know that's a big gripe for a lot of people, but I think he's just overshadowing so many other very talented narrators that and he just keeps getting put in and in and in. It's like when you see actors like Chris Pratt is put in like everything for years. It's like, okay, we could get a different person in now. It's the same thing, and that's my hot take, and everyone's really really loves him, but I'm like, can we use somebody else?
I am currently delving into audiobooks as well, but like my own production. So I have got two that so the science of getting an audiobook produced is quite a learning curve for me. When it's a single narration, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so it's one actor, because they're voice actors, so it's one actor that you need to get sorted. Fine, not the end of the world. I have my default narrator now. She is a little bit new on the scenes, but when I saw her range of her voices, I was like, sold. That is the person I need. With the second book, which is a multi-POV, so I need the man and the woman voices, I was like, well, do you have any recommendations on who I could speak to for the man part? And Anthony Palmini came up, and I was like,
oh, yes.
Yeah. So I was like, cute that you think I can afford him. I am going to put that one to skip, because everywhere I turn, he is the default voice for an audiobook. And I'm like, he's great. 100%. There is absolutely nothing wrong with him. But I don't want the romantasy girlies coming for me, because that's ultimately what's going to happen. Like, oh, Anthony Palmini has narrated this book. Let me go. And I'm like, no. I was like, no.
That's fair. I love Anthony Palmini, but I have not listened to enough. Like it was, oh my God, Gold. That
Guild. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole series I listened to of his, and then I think I've like listened to like one other book of his, but I have seen him starting to like pop up a lot. He definitely does do more romantasy, and I just dabble in romantasy every so often. I don't sit in the genre enough. And Teddy's like very dark romance, and I'm like, sir,
Yeah,
leave. Leave. There's so many good ones out there. Oh my God, whose book did I see? I have the arc for it too, and I cannot like think of the name, but I saw that she released the like cast, and one of my favorite narrators is like an unlabeled guest on it. And I was like, I have the arc, I'm reading it, but I will probably re-listen, because that narrator, I never see him in anything. I have to listen to him now.
So follow-up question, since you are so opinionated with audiobooks, when you release an audiobook as an author, we just take the cover and then we resize it for the audiobook specs, right? So it would be the author's name, the title, and the series name, blah, blah, blah. Do you believe the narrator's name should be on the cover as well?
That's a good question. I think yes, because sometimes I actually look at just the cover, and when sometimes I'm like looking at it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that's his name. Like I need to go find it, because sometimes I can't find it. But they do get credit because they're living your book. They get that credit to be on that cover.
Okay, that's interesting, because I've seen this debate going around in the community for like
Interesting.
a while. When people talk about doom scrolling, I do it with a very different goal in mind, because a lot of the time it's where I see discussions happening on, which could have formed the podcast, or it's a decision I make in content. I like the latest thing I've seen, people are selling arcs.
Yes,
That makes me angry, because I think Victoria Aveyard, and I'm a huge fan of her podcast, by the way. I haven't read her work, but I like how she approaches these discussions. I think someone, her latest release, Tempest, I think someone was hawking it for $500.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so like, again, so when I doom scroll, it's like with this in mind, where I'm seeing these discussions happening. It just helps me stay on the pulse of what is going on in the bookish community, and is there something that I should be aware of, or is there something I need to keep in mind going forward?
I do the same thing. Like I kind of like I skim when I doom scroll, and it depends on the goal of what I'm doom scrolling for the day. Yeah. Inspiration for a reel, or do I want tea? It's literally the two options I have.
I actually tried a little bit of a stint in TikTok recently. Because I know you kind of hinted at this earlier, but I'm like, I'm old now. I don't want to learn a new platform. I want to stick to the platform that I know.
That's fair.
I tried TikTok, and I was like, okay, it's not that hard. I was like, maybe I'm underselling myself a little bit here. But I ended up deleting it within 4 weeks because it was starting to feel like rage bait. Have
Mhm.
you read Dagmouth?
I
Right.
have not.
Yeah.
That
So
also has Teddy Hamilton as the narrator, so unfortunately I will not be doing the audiobook.
good to know. I, I mean, it's right there behind me. I paid my editor to send it from the States to Amsterdam because I couldn't get it here anymore because obviously with indie to trad switch.
Yeah.
I love the indie cover. I don't know why it took so long to read it. My hardcore romance friend, she read it and she was like, it's fine. And I was like, yeah, it's probably too violent for you. And I should probably go to therapy, but I love violence.
Same. And I know I have a friend who's like, you need to read it. I'm like, I know. I'll get there. And then I was like, I'll wait for the audiobook. And then she released the narrator. Like, well,
So I am going to contradict myself. Don't read it right now. And I'll tell you why.
It's very topical to hear.
So, yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, that's why. I've actually had this discussion with several people, even my sisters. It's like when they get too oversaturated, it becomes really annoying. ACOTAR's gonna have its circle back around as the new books come out. But like that was same with like Fourth Wing. It gets so pushed out that you're like, okay, I'm over it. I don't want to see this anymore. It's a weird fatigue. I don't know what like fatigue.
That's exactly
fatigue that is.
It.
I will say this, and it's probably just more hot takes, but like now that we're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably a hot take. I think it's especially trad. It's just it's because I think there's a lot of indie books that I've seen that have gone viral that I don't really like. I don't get fatigued by it.
Yeah.
But it's the trad ones that I'm like, okay, we've beaten this to death.
Yeah.
I'm over it. I just cannot find the word to describe it, but it's just too much at this point. On your take of like people selling arcs, so I'm part of the Kensington Publishing arc team for Amber v. Nicole. And so they just rehauled their entire Discord server and like brought in new people. But this week they put out an alert to allow people to report people who are selling arcs. So, and it's like I haven't looked at it because I haven't gone on Mercari in forever, but they were like, this is where you send it. You can tag us, like report listings here, and they will get kicked off the team so that they can go and investigate. So like even publishing companies, so Kensington is a decently big trad, like they're going after people selling arcs. So it's not, which is because like you see a lot of indie authors that are like, please send me the link so that I can go find them. And like, they won't ever receive an arc again. They're blacklisted. Yeah. So anyway, so Throne of Broken Gods it's releasing on Tuesday. And so we all got sent arcs. Mine came in yesterday. And so they're really hounding down on people of like, you need to like report these. Please don't sell your arcs if you need. And they were very nice about it too. They were like, if you ended up receiving 2 arcs or you decided you don't want this arc anymore, like message us and you can gift it to a friend or, the free little library or things like that. Like giving options. But to that point is I love the Gods and Monsters series. Yeah. By Amber Nicole. She did go trad last year and she had the book 4 was released trad, and then now she's re-releasing 1 through 3. Mm-hmm. I think that series is very, very underrated. And even though it has gone trad, it's just not gotten I feel like it deserves so much more. It is a little bit more fantasy than it is romance, but I absolutely love that series. I really do want to read that series, but I'm a big mood reader. And right now it's just, there's something about the blurb that I'm not connecting with for me. I know I need to get over it. Logically, I get it. Because I read that series, like come hell or high water, because a lot of my mutuals on Bookstagram are also raving about it. They're like, it's a fucking god tier series. But I'm just like, okay, if I have to. I don't always read blurbs because the blurbs they don't always match the vibe of the book. That is fair. I think I read somewhere, I think during a Doom Scrolls, like someone had said like, it's the author that's writing the blurb. You know what your book is about, you're writing and you're maybe just a little bit more skewed of like writing what you want people to know and what a publisher, an outside source could look if they've read the book to give a different like POV of what the book is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's an interesting outlook on how a blurb is written. Because I did not read the blurb of Gods and Monsters. Someone told me she's a shapeshifter, she changes into a dragon, and she's morally gray. And I was like, okay, that's enough to like convince me.
That solves me on it.
That sells me. And then someone else told me it's Buffy coded. So I was like, I don't need all the big fancy words to like, I don't need 3 paragraphs to tell me what this book is. Like, it started because I think like I've seen the cover for a while and I was like, okay, like I don't really know what I'm getting into. But then someone was like, no, she's a morally gray FMC. She shapeshifts into a dragon. She is in her villain era. It's well done. Like I think as I was reading them, because I read them all last year, I was also doing a Buffy rewatch. And there were it just like how times like just ended up that way. And there were certain scenes that like reminded me of I was like, oh my God, this is that scene. I was like, oh, I can picture it so much better now that I'm like rewatching Buffy. And it was just like very like, it was such an obscure scene. I remember texting it to a friend and I like screen recorded the episode and I was like, this scene right here, it's this scene in this book. And she was like, oh my God, you're right. I was like,
I haven't read Powerless, and I probably won't, if I'm being honest with you, because like
which book?
Powerless by Lauren Roberts.
Oh, I haven't read it either.
Yeah, like I read YA, I do 100%. Like that doesn't hold me back, but I have heard so much about how that has been pirated from Victoria Aveyard's Red Queen series. Creator that keeps coming up in my feed because she's actually doing a reread like right next to each other.
I watched her yesterday.
Yeah. And she was explaining the difference between inspired versus a
transformation.
Yes, exactly.
Transformation.
A lot of the things that I write and refer to is inspired by the Buffys and the Charms and, you know, all of those. That my hook is the 2010 era. Okay. The And my one friend, she sends me a reel the other day. And Anne Hathaway did like this announcement that the Netherlands is getting a special premiere of The Devil Wears Prada 2 on Wednesday. And I'm like, I will call in sick to like, what do you need me? I am there. Meryl Streep as Miranda Priestley is fucking iconic.
Yeah.
It's now one of my upcoming books. The comp.
Oh, I love that.
Where's Prada? Yeah. I mean, amongst other things. And I'm just like, for me, that giddy feeling like that where you can connect and you can see the inspiration, whatever. So of course I have like fashion scene moments from NYC, whatever, but it's not a rip-off of The Devil Wears Prada. And I think that distinction is really important.
You can see like the nod and the inspiration because like again like Amber V. Nicole there's a couple animes that I can see that like inspired it, but like you can see that inspiration, but like that video from that creator, it's like there's this transformation of like making your own and bringing other elements in and reworking it. We all get inspired by everything. Like that's what she said in that video too, of like we all get inspiration from everything. It's just you creating something new out of it.
You have got the Books and Blades trip coming up. I'm seeing an uptick in creators offering these trips or these guided trips. Why do you think it's becoming so appealing to people, as in the book community specifically? And what can you tell us about yours?
I was just talking to my co-host about that too. I've seen them come up too. We're now looking for community in a different way because 2020 like reshaped the entire world. It reshaped everyone's businesses. It reworked their lives, everything. So now that we've started to become more comfortable, we've been becoming more comfortable, but now we want to actually connect offline and having these excursions coming up where you can meet new people in a very, very more intimate way. Because like book conventions, there's a huge rise in book conventions, just been such an influx. People are wanting to go, but I've seen a lot of people get a lot of anxiety and overwhelmed over it. Sometimes meeting people can be very hard at those events. Some people want to find like travel buddies before the events. And then a lot of people end up making friends that are in line and all of that. And I've seen a lot of beautiful friendships like just emerge from that. But I think to captivate that, but put it in a smaller, less intimidating front is why these like trips are becoming more appealing for people.
So there's one creator They're currently on their Croatia trip. So first of all, I love Croatia. If I could live anywhere else in the world,
That girl reads.
yes, it's more Kyla, the friend. When they advertised it at the time, I actually signed up because I was like, yeah, I'm in. I'm so in right now. Like, I know I'm supposed to do the author stuff, whatever, but I'm a reader first. I also want to connect with other readers. At the time, I couldn't afford it, unfortunately. That's why, like, I gave it a skip. But I'm like, I would personally love to go on a trip because for me, the bookish community has been so pivotal to like me as a person. Sure, there's been bad stuff, like that comes with anything. But my best example is why I had cancer. The bookish community was there for me in a way that people in my real life would say, in my real life, oh, just stay positive. And I'm like, positivity is not going to change anything. Okay. I remember when I was bitching about my eyebrows, which are still not 100% back to what they were, because I had like Wolverine eyebrows before. And so the one author, she responds to me and she goes, you can get tattoo eyebrows and make it like villain eyebrows, and then you can use that as inspiration for scene. I'm like, I applaud the effort. Like, that's really so like 10 out of 10 on that. But I was just like, that was what I needed to hear in that moment. Not someone feeling sorry for me, but someone like flipping it around.
I think that's what some of these other communities, because there's just different communities that like give you that. I think that's coming into those spaces and traveling. Like, everyone wants to travel, but you're scared. Like, there's a decent amount of people, I think, that like maybe only one, like if they're in a partnership, then only one of them can travel. That's all they can afford, or one loves to travel, one doesn't. You have a group of people you can go with, and you automatically have travel buddies, and it's really fun to see people coming up with like little plans and ideas. So like our trip has like a Discord, so I I'm just like the worst participator. I just lurk. Every so often I'm like, someone like, I think one day asked like, does anyone know how to braid hair? I was like, what do you need? What kind of braids? And they're like, this is the braids I want. I'm like, I got you. And that's like my only contribution. It's like, I can help with hair. Let me remind you though, like we need like travel visa, like everything else. They're like, oh, we're gonna make friendship bracelets. Oh, we're gonna like try to like, we have a free day. Like, let's do this together. So like, there's a lot of camaraderie that's happening, and it's really sweet to see. And then with our trip, it's because Callie's the more like spearheaded one of that. It's because she's a cosplayer, she's a filmmaker. It's very much about, dressing up and embracing that like fantasy character and doing photos. So there's a lot of like little photo shoots happening throughout our trip. And we are partnering with Main Character Club in Scotland. The owner's name is Gabby. So she has this wonderful club that she's created. It's a virtual club, and then she has like meetups and stuff. And she's a photographer, and she's talking about embracing your main character. And she was our last day. We're doing a photo shoot with her. She was talking to us this week about like her method and how like she gets you into character and you're dressing up, and it's going to be a fun, unique little piece of our like trip.
Are you guys going to Stonehenge by any chance? My geography.
No, so we're just in Scotland. We're just in Edinburgh.
Okay, because I was like, I'm totally seeing Outlander moments happening.
I did see this morning someone had like Claire's like shawl thing. Yeah. I don't know period pieces. But she had like a little shawl thing and was like, does anyone want this? I have this. I think I'm gonna give it away. Does anyone want this for like an Outlander like look?
I just realized something I didn't ask you. You have the micro squad. What's the difference with the Valkyries? Because you talk about the Valkyries as well.
Micro squad and Valkyrie squad are the same thing. Okay. It was just when I had Micro Squad, and then when I was naming the program, I was like, well, I don't know what to name this program because they copyright issues. You don't want to call it Court of Silver Flames. So when you're trying to avoid copyright, also puts you in a detriment because people are looking for certain things on my website and they can't find because they're not listed as. We had recently redid our website. So certain themed workouts, our actual search bar actually has the book title, but paired with like whatever punny name I gave it. Cause like we have a Court of Sweat and Sass, which no one actually realizes it is a Court of Thorns and Roses. So like there's things like that. And I have, this is my pride and joy, Ladies in Waiting, which is WEIGHTING. It's Bridgerton themed. I was like, I'm a genius. Ladies in Waiting. Oh my God. And it's a fully seated workout. You're using weights. I thought I was an absolute genius. And then everyone's like, wait, there's a Bridgerton workout? I'm like, Yeah, duh. Ladies in waiting. Duh. Like, how could you not see that pun there?
I realize now that as throughout the whole chat, I never clarified that with you, but now that makes sense.
It was what I named the program, and then my assistant was like, "You don't advertise Valkyrie Squad enough on Micro Squad, but it's so big, you probably just need its own Instagram account to help just advertise that." And I was like, "Do I have to make another one?"
Sincerely, millennial.
Yeah. I have to have how many profiles? What? Is it two enough?
With time management overall, like it's my superpower. I mean, hell, I made a career from it. I have my personal Instagram, my author Instagram, and the podcast Instagram. Then I had to add TikTok. Then I have the Facebook author on it, and I was like, now I need to update a YouTube channel. And then someone said to me the other day, "Oh, you should do whatever is the latest platform." And I was like, no. I was like, I am done. I was like, I can. And they're like, "Oh, just reuse content." I'm like, yes, but someone still needs to go figure out the platform. Is this working? One of the things I gifted myself this year was I got a PA. Now, do I have money for it? Technically not, but where there's a will, there's a way. One of those things. And one of the things I was very specific with her about is I need you to do the research for the things that I don't have the headspace to. So like, stupid example, I was like, I need you to find a workaround for an audiobook marketplace because I don't want to bore you, but so I'm a dual citizen, right? So I'm an EU citizen, but I'm also a South African citizen. But I live in the Netherlands, but I'm not Dutch. Okay, so keep that part in mind. If you look at ACX, it's the back end of Audible, they only cater to Americans, Canadian, British, or Irish people. I don't fit into any of those. So I was like, I need you to figure that out for me. Find the, and she did. And I was like, so she was able to figure that out, I would think in maybe an hour, where it would have taken me days because it's not the only thing I have in my mind. So I was like, I need you to take that away from me and figure those things out. Like, what was another thing we were talking about recently? My audiobook announcement. This is you can give me the most complex problems to solve, no problem. Ask me to figure out a layout with a Canva template.
Oh my God, it takes me like years. Years.
At first I tried and I was like, hey, this looks shit. I was like, I've spent 3 hours on this. It looks shit. And I'm not a perfectionist by any means when it comes to graphics. I pay people to be perfectionists. This is how my mind works. And I was like, Haley, I'm about to throw my laptop out the window. Please, can you fix this for me? It comes up with the most beautiful audiobook announcement. It takes you 20 minutes. And I'm like, I should be mad, but I'm also not because this is why I pay you. So we're going to go with that. So
everything changes, right? The book world changes, the audiobook world changes, fitness changes, unfortunately, more often than we realize. And within my own like member group and seeing what's expected next of them and what they would like, how I want to evolve as a company. So I'm restructuring some things. I think I was telling Nikita this actually. It's like, it's a quiet year and kind of going back over everything. I'm not recycling it, but I'm working on new ways of giving more of what we already have, which is like the best vague way I can put that. And the microsquad.com is our website where you can find out all of our workouts. Yeah. Actually, and by the time this episode comes out, we'll have 2 new workouts with the weighted daggers up on our YouTube channel. So we'll have dragon rider inspired ones. You have 2 missions. That's what we came up with.